On the night my boyfriend proposed to me, I overheard a conversation between him and my best friend. I'm about to get married. Do you regret it? My best friend's eyes turned red, and then she suddenly pressed her lips to his. I do. In my boyfriend's eyes, I saw shock, helpless confusion, and finally, delight. As if some old grudge had at last been avenged. As if some long-cherished wish had finally come true. Just as he was about to reach out and pull her into his arms, his gaze locked with mine in the corner. I did not turn around and leave. Instead, I stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. My best friend moved on instinct to stop me. I raised my hand, ready to slap her too, when my boyfriend stepped in front of her, his eyes red as he begged me, if you have to hit someone, hit me. Just don't hit her. In the 5th year of my relationship with Oliver Smith, he prepared an extravagant proposal for me. When he slid the ring onto my finger, I smiled and said that I would. But my best friend, Rachel Jordan, suddenly had tears in her eyes, and they spilled down her cheeks. Her gaze moved from me to Oliver standing beside me, and she forced out a smile that looked even worse than crying. Grace Wilson, I really envy you. I envy you so much. I patted her back and joked, I envy you too. Your boyfriends change every other day. I'm the pitiful one, only dated this one guy and I'm already about to marry him. Unexpectedly, Oliver didn't say a word. His eyes were fixed straight on Rachel. She went on, Oliver has actually been with you for 5 years. Back then. Before she could finish, Oliver grabbed 2 bottles of alcohol from the table and cut her off. Give us your blessing. Rachel reached out and took the bottle he handed her. She laughed, and then tears started falling again. Grace, tell me, why is it that some people can forget someone so easily? I thought she was talking about all the boyfriends she'd cycled through over the years. So I smiled and comforted her, that's just because you haven't met the right person yet. She downed one drink after another, then shook her head sadly. I did meet him. But I let him slip away. Then she stood up, swaying as she walked toward the restroom. I was about to go with her when the silent Oliver finally spoke up first. She seems drunk. I'll go check on her. I froze for a second, then nodded. After a long while, neither of them had come back. I started to feel uneasy and decided to go after them. The restroom was empty, but there was a staircase beside it that led up to a small terrace. I was about to turn around and leave when I heard Rachel's muffled sobbing. On instinct, I turned back and walked up the stairs. At a glance, I saw Oliver and Rachel standing together. Oliver's hand was resting on her hair, half a caress, half a gesture of comfort. Isn't this exactly what you wanted to see? You were the one who turned me down back then. You were the one who told me Grace liked me. When he said this, there was no emotion in his eyes. But in his movements, I could clearly see a different kind of intimacy. Just as you wished, I got together with her. We're about to get married. Do you regret it now? There was a loud buzz in my head, and my mind went completely blank. My legs suddenly felt as heavy as if they were filled with lead. And then, in the very next second, I saw Rachel's eyes slowly turn red. She raised her head and looked at him. Oliver, you bastard. You proposed today on purpose just to spite me, didn't you? You knew perfectly well that today is the day I turned you down all those years ago. Oliver said nothing. Rachel, as if she had finally made some enormous decision, rose on tiptoe and kissed him on the lips. But I regret it. Her tears fell as she beat weakly against Oliver's chest with her fists. In Oliver's eyes, I saw shock, helplessness, and finally, joy. As if a long-standing grudge had finally been avenged. As if a wish buried for years had finally been fulfilled. It felt like something inside my chest was pounding hard against my ribs, again and again, twisting with pain. A sour sting rushed up to the tip of my nose, and my eyes burned with a hurt I couldn't control. Then the tears began to pour down in torrents. That day was also the day Oliver had first asked to be with me. I had always thought that was romantic. From the beginning of our relationship to his proposal, exactly 5 years. I never imagined it was a date he had carefully picked out to avenge himself on her. How could he so calmly, so shamelessly stab me in the back on the happiest day of my life? Right in front of me stood the boyfriend who had been with me for 5 years, and the best friend I'd had for 8. They had betrayed me together. Just as Oliver was about to reach out and pull her into his arms, his gaze locked with mine in the shadows. At that moment, Rachel also turned and saw me, her face streaked with tears. And Oliver actually looked panicked. What was he panicking for? The girl he liked was finally responding to his feelings. He should have been overjoyed. But then, what did that make me? During these 5 years, had I been nothing more than a witness to their love story? If they had never truly forgotten each other, why drag me into this tangled mess between them? The heartache soon burned away, leaving only boundless rage. I did not turn around and leave. I did not pretend nothing had happened. I did not scream questions at them. Instead, I stepped forward and slapped Oliver, hard. His head snapped to the side from the force of it. I said nothing as I raised my hand again, aiming at her, but the next second my palm never reached her face. Because Oliver had caught my wrist. He stepped in front of her, lowered his eyes, and said to me, "If you have to hit someone, hit me. Don't hit her." In a daze, old memories flooded back. At our high school graduation dinner, I had mustered up the courage to confess to Oliver. He had been drinking a little that night. When he saw me walking over, he glanced at me lightly. "You and Rachel are close friends, right?" "Yes." Then he said, "Grace, do you like me?" My little secret crush was exposed on the spot. My face burned red, and I twisted my fingers together, trying to think of what to say. Oliver spoke first. "Then let's be together." "Huh?" He ignored my shock, stood up, and walked over to me. "So, are you going to walk me home?" So it turned out that it was only because Rachel had rejected him that day. And because I was Rachel's good friend, he chose me instead. Later, Oliver and I ended up at the same university, while Rachel went to a teacher's college just one street away. When we first started dating, Oliver always seemed to ask, almost without thinking, if I had any close friends I could invite along. So I would invite Rachel to join us. In other words, he had only used his relationship with me as a reasonable excuse to see her. During our college years, it seemed like the three of us were together for every important moment. We watched movies together, went to concerts together, celebrated birthdays together, walked through our youth together. Even our other friends would say that our bond was amazing. I would laugh, sling an arm around Rachel's neck, and tell them she was my real wife. Oliver had to take a back seat. In my heart, she always came first. I was about to raise my hand again when Rachel instinctively moved to stop me. And it was this very number one friend who was coveting my boyfriend on the eve of my wedding. What was even sadder was that my boyfriend liked her too. How ironic was that? I hurled the ring in my hand at Oliver with all my strength. Then I grabbed him by the collar and pounded on his chest. "Why did you do this to me? What do you two take me for?" Tears streamed uncontrollably down my face, my voice hoarse. How had they managed to keep me, the one completely in the dark, fooled all this time? How had they managed to pine for each other while still pretending to care about me? In these 5 years, what exactly was I in Oliver's eyes? One of them was my boyfriend. The other was my best friend. How dare they? Rachel came over, crying as she tried to pull me away. "I'm sorry, Grace. I was the one who turned Oliver down back then. You two aren't married yet. I don't want to miss him again. Could you give him to me?" I stared at her and, while Oliver wasn't looking, slapped her hard across the face. "How can you two be so disgusting?" Rachel clearly hadn't expected me to hit her. Holding her cheek, she wept and protested, "I love him too, okay? Is it a crime to love someone?" I was so furious my mind went blank. I almost screamed in hysteria, "No, loving someone isn't a crime, but the two of you are absolutely shameless." Oliver bent down to pick up the ring from the floor, then took a step toward me, reaching for me. "Grace, calm down." I dodged his hand, looked him straight in the eye, and enunciated each word. "Oliver, we're done." I had just turned to leave when the ground suddenly dropped away beneath my feet. Oliver scooped me up around the waist. He sounded a little flustered. "This isn't over. Listen to me explain." I pounded on his back with all my strength, legs kicking as I screamed, "Put me down. Put me down. Oliver, you bastard." But he still held my legs in an iron grip so I couldn't move at all. Rachel stood where she was, tears streaming down her face as she called out to him, "Oliver." He acted as if he couldn't hear her and carried me all the way out, finally shoving me into the car. "Oliver, get out. Get out of here. I want out of this car. Let me out." He locked the doors and, before I could say anything else, slammed his foot on the gas. By the time we got home, my whole body felt like it had fallen apart. The moment I stepped through the door, I headed straight for the bedroom and started packing. I yanked the suitcase open and threw my clothes into it, one piece after another. Oliver blocked my way. "I can explain." I shook off his hand and stared at him coldly. "Don't touch me. You disgust me." He went on talking anyway. "I admit my reason for getting together with you wasn't pure. In high school, I really did like Rachel. I did choose you to get back at her. But later, I slowly fell in love with you, Grace. The one I love now is you. So what? Because you love me, I'm supposed to fall on my knees and thank you." He licked his lips, scrambling to explain. "That's not what I meant." I just lost my head for a moment back there. Seeing her cry, I felt kind of sorry for her, and then I suddenly felt a bit vindicated, so I said those things. I dug my nails hard into my thigh, forcing myself to stay calm. "So next time something happens to her, are you going to comfort her in bed?" He frowned. "You don't have to make it sound so ugly." When I didn't respond, he added, "I won't have any contact with her ever again." "Oh, really? So what are you, split personality now? Deeply devoted one second, completely ruthless the next. A sudden crack of thunder exploded outside the window. See? Even the old man up there doesn't believe a cheating jerk like you. With that, I went on packing my clothes. He wanted to stop me, but didn't dare. He only stood there and said in a low voice, "Grace, I do love you. There's nothing between me and her. Can't you give me one more chance? Give you another chance so you can cheat on me all over again next time?" "Don't say that." He was completely at a loss now, his eyes rimmed red. "Please don't go. You already said yes to my proposal. We're so close to getting married. Can't we just pretend nothing happened tonight? Can we?" How could he say something like that without even blinking? What does he take me for? Am I someone he can get together with whenever he wants and toss aside whenever he wants? Am I the kind of pathetic fool who can forgive him even after he and my best friend betray me? A flash of lightning tore across the sky outside. Then the rain came pouring down. I looked out the window and said calmly, "Oliver, you hurt me. I was wrong. I was wrong." He repeated the same words over and over. I glanced at the photo of us still hanging in the center of the bedroom wall. My chest felt painfully tight. The place in my body that was still beating ached with every throb. I couldn't breathe the hurt out, couldn't swallow it down. It was unbearable. Utterly unbearable. I looked at him, then grabbed the remote on the nightstand and hurled it at the picture frame. With a sharp crack, the glass shattered, and the photo inside fell to the floor with it. I snatched up the scissors beside me and cut the photo to pieces, then cut those pieces again. Oliver suddenly rushed over and wrapped his arms around me, crushing me against his chest as if he were comforting me, as if he were making a vow. His voice was low and hoarse. "Grace, I love you. I only love you." I shoved him away and dug my fingers into his throat, wanting nothing more than to choke him to death. I sobbed so hard I couldn't catch my breath. It was like every last bit of strength was being wrung out of me. My tears fell one by one onto his face. He didn't fight back. He only stared at me in silence. His face slowly turned red, then purple. He still didn't make a sound. Then I let go. I wiped the tears from my cheeks, drew in a deep breath, and said with a blank expression, "You hurt me. So just now, I hurt you too. Oliver, now we're even." He suddenly panicked. "No." He grabbed my hand and tried desperately to force the ring back onto my finger. I wanted to cry, but no more tears would come. I wanted to push him away, but it felt like I had already used up all my strength. I just stood there quietly, watching his hands tremble as he slid the ring back onto my finger. My voice was barely audible. "Oliver, I don't want to look at you. You make me sick." That was when Rachel walked in. I had forgotten she had her fingerprint stored on our front door lock. What a joke. When I pressed her fingertip onto the scanner back then, I never imagined that one day this person would be the one trying to steal my boyfriend from me. She was still wearing the same thin camisole dress from before. Now it was soaked through, her figure faintly visible beneath it. Her hair clung to her face, her lips had gone pale. She stood in the doorway, staring at Oliver and me, her voice shaking. "Grace, don't blame him. I'm the one who caused this. I'm the shameless one." I looked over at her and said evenly, "Rachel, for a man, you really have to go this far." Her gaze flickered away, and after hesitating for a moment, she finally said, "I don't want to miss him again. I've been with him for 5 years too." "Great. Wonderful." I let out a cold laugh. So in the end, friendship really couldn't compete with love. All these years, I'd watched her go through boyfriend after boyfriend. I thought she just hadn't met the right one yet. I never imagined that during the 5 years we'd spent so much time together, she had been regretting, every single moment, turning Oliver down back then. And regretting pushing him toward me. If it hadn't been for the two of them, I might have been heartbroken for a while over a failed confession, but after starting college, I probably would have moved on, would have forgotten. I would have found someone who truly liked me and had a clean, uncomplicated relationship. No revenge. No messy strings attached. Even if the two of them eventually ended up together, I wouldn't have thought there was anything wrong with it. I wouldn't be standing here today, stabbed in the back by the two people who mattered most to me. I clenched my fists, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Then I wish you two a lifetime together, may you always carry the stain of betrayal, live in the dark, and be spat on by everyone." Sometime during this, tears had started leaking from the corner of Oliver's eyes. He reached out to grab me, and I lifted my hand and slapped him again. The sharp edge of the ring sliced across his cheek. A deep bloody line ran from the corner of his eye down to his jaw, and fresh blood was already welling up. Rachel let out a scream and threw herself at him, fumbling for tissues to press to the wound. I took the chance to drag my suitcase out. Just then I heard Oliver speak. "Grace, besides my place, do you have any other home to go back to?" My steps faltered. Of course he knew exactly where to stab me so it would hurt the most. I had never imagined that one day we would be hurling such cruel words at each other. I had never imagined that Oliver would pour salt into the sorest wound in my heart. Before, whenever Oliver and I fought and I got upset, I could still go to Rachel's place to complain. We would lie under the same blanket and reminisce about high school, about our youth. Those days had been so good. I had someone I loved, and I had a friend. Now the two people I loved most were the ones who had hurt me the most. I didn't stop. I flung the ring to the floor and walked out with my suitcase. When the door shut behind me, neither of them came after me. I heard Rachel sobbing. "Oliver, you're bleeding. Let me help you stop it, okay?" I didn't look back, not even once. At midnight, I stood in front of my childhood home, unsure if I should unlock the door and go in. My mom had died of illness when I was in middle school. After I started college, my dad carefully asked if it would be okay for him to find someone to be with. Only then did I realize I had ignored how hard it had been for him to raise me on his own. I understood that he had emotional needs. I knew he couldn't stay alone for my mom's sake forever. That summer after my freshman year, he brought an auntie over to meet me. She seemed kind, always smiling. While she was in the bathroom, my dad snuck a question in: was it okay or not? If it wasn't, he said he just wouldn't see her anymore. I looked at the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. I couldn't bring myself to say something that cruel, so I smiled and nodded instead. Later, Aunt Nancy moved into our home. The house was kept neat and tidy, always with fresh flowers and warm meals. My dad grew happier day by day, and it was around then that I started to feel like I was the extra one. I knew I shouldn't be so selfish, but I still couldn't truly welcome a stranger barging into my life. So even though I went to college in the same city, I only came home during winter and summer breaks. After Oliver learned about my family situation, he rented an apartment in our junior year so I'd have somewhere to go whenever I didn't want to go home. It's the place we live in now. His family had money, so later he just bought it outright. That day, he put the property deed in front of me, pulled me into his arms, and whispered sweetly, "Grace, you have me. I'll give you a home. From now on, even if we fight, I'll be the one to leave, you'll always stay here." I'd been so moved back then. Truly moved. But when I peeled back the layers of armor around my heart and showed him my most fragile side, I never thought I was handing him the knife he'd use to hurt me in the future. Stab after stab, until my heart was left drenched in blood. I leaned against my front door, arms wrapped around my knees, my head buried against them. Maybe there really was such a thing as a sixth sense. After a while, the door opened. My dad stood there in his pajamas, looking down at me. "Grace, what's wrong?" Aunt Nancy also came out, a coat thrown over her shoulders. The living room lights flicked on. My dad glanced at the suitcase by my side and asked, "Had a fight?" I shook my head, then nodded. "We broke up. For good this time." He didn't ask why. He only said, "Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat?" Then he shot Aunt Nancy a look. She paused for a moment, then smiled and said, "You must be starving this late at night. I'll make you a poached egg and hot broth." I said nothing, and she went into the kitchen. My dad sat down beside me. This father, who had never been good with words in my memories, patted my shoulder. "Grace, you still have your dad. You still have a home." The tears I had just managed to stop started falling again. Haltingly, choking on my words, I told him what had happened tonight. I thought he would be like other parents and say that couples just fight sometimes, that we should calm down for a few days and things would be fine. But my dad's eyes turned red. "It's my fault for not helping you see people clearly. Grace, I will always be on your side. Just come home." Right then, Aunt Nancy came out carrying a steaming bowl of poached egg and broth. She smiled at me. "Grace, have something hot. Let's not stay angry, okay? Our Grace is so wonderful, she deserves someone much better to love her." I took the spoon and sipped the broth, mouthful by mouthful. The rising heat made my eyes ache. So my family still loved me. That was a good feeling. But I didn't sleep well that night. In my dreams, sometimes it was Oliver's face. Back then we had really been happy. When I took Oliver to meet my dad for the first time, he was so nervous he couldn't sleep all night. And I knew my dad hadn't slept either. The next morning, Oliver got up early to buy a pile of gifts. When we arrived at my house, he went straight into the kitchen, helping my dad and Aunt Nancy with everything. To make a good impression, he cleaned my home from top to bottom until it was spotless. After having a few drinks with my dad, he thumped his chest and made a serious promise. "You can rest easy, Uncle. I'll treat Grace well for the rest of my life." In the years we lived together after that, he really did treat me well. He really did try to fulfill his promise of giving me a home. At home, he had always been the pampered young master, but for me, he was willing to roll up his sleeves and cook. Later, when we graduated and started working, he would prepare breakfast in the morning and wake me up, then drive me to work on his way. At night, he would come pick me up after work. Sometimes we would go out and treat ourselves to a good meal. Sometimes we would wander through wet markets and supermarkets together, buy a pile of groceries, and cook at home. Every now and then, watching his back as he cooked, I would think that if I could grow old hand in hand with this man, it might not be a bad life at all. I remember one night when I couldn't sleep. He was asleep, but then he rolled over, pulled me tightly into his arms, kissed my cheek in his dreams, and mumbled, "Wife, hold me." Back then, he really did treat me like I was a treasure. Then my dream would shift, and it would become Rachel's face. In high school, I had been self-conscious. When she learned about my family, she started bringing me boiled eggs every day. On weekends, she would invite me over to her house for meals. Her mom would make us all kinds of delicious food. We would lie on her bed listening to music, watching dramas together. Outside the window, cicadas sang. Inside, two girls laughed and chattered. We swapped diaries. We spent every weekend together. We hung a friendship lock in a temple and wished for our bond to last forever. At the end of the dream, the two of them were in each other's arms, looking at me with cold indifference and telling me I was the extra one. When I jolted awake, my back was drenched in sweat. By the time I stepped out of the room, it was nearly noon. My dad told me that Oliver had been sitting at our front door since early morning. Dark circles under his eyes, his whole face haggard. I didn't know whether he had come in the middle of the night or at dawn. "I sent him away," my dad said. "I know you don't want to see him, so we just won't." Aunt Nancy had already finished cooking. The pork rib soup smelled rich and comforting. "Grace, you're up. Come eat. Once you're full, it's the weekend, how about going fishing with your dad?" "Okay." But when we opened the door, we still saw Oliver. He was slumped at our doorstep. When he heard the door open, he scrambled to his feet. There was still a bandage stuck to his temple. Which meant he had let her clean him up last night. "Didn't I tell you to leave? What are you doing here?" My dad stepped in front of me to shield me. "Don't pester our Grace." "Uncle." Oliver's gaze landed on me, but all he got back was my icy indifference. "I'm here to apologize." His voice was somehow terribly hoarse. "We don't need your apology. If you really care about our Grace at all, you'll leave right now." My dad actually has a temper. The fact that he wasn't cursing him out was already the greatest mercy he could offer. Oliver looked helplessly at me, then carefully took out the blue velvet ring box from yesterday. I turned my face away. I heard him say, "Uncle, I proposed to Grace last night." She said yes. There were lots of people there who saw it. I just made her angry. "I'm here to apologize and hope you'll forgive me." As he spoke, his eyes started to turn red again. "This is a matter of principle. Our Grace may have a good temper, but she still has her bottom line. A man who rides two boats like you doesn't deserve to step through our door." At those words, pain flashed across Oliver's face. He pulled out his phone. He opened chat after chat and held them out as he tried to explain. "Uncle, I didn't. In the 5 years I've been with Grace, I've treated her as just an ordinary friend. I've never once crossed the line with her." "But you lied to me, didn't you?" I looked straight into his eyes. "Oliver, can you swear that when you first got together with me, it was because you genuinely liked me, and not because you wanted to get back at someone else?" He was silent. After a long moment, he spoke. "But nothing ever happened between us." Yes, nothing had happened between them. So why couldn't I just let it go? What he didn't know was this. In every single memory I had of being with him over those 5 years, Rachel had been there too. I had no idea if his heart had ever wandered in those years. But those memory fragments that had once shone like the sun and warmed my life, had now all fused into sharp knives. Each one drove itself straight into my heart. Those vows we'd once been so proud of, about the three of us growing old together, now seemed laughable beyond words. Just because nothing had happened didn't mean it was as if nothing existed. They were the ones who betrayed me. Why on earth should I forgive them? I tugged on my dad's sleeve and shook my head. "Dad, let's go." When Aunt Nancy and I went to help my dad carry the folding stools, she told me that, early that morning, my dad had almost beaten Oliver with the broom. But then, slowly, his eyes had turned red, and he'd told Oliver not to come looking for me again. She said, "After your dad shut the door, he sat on the sofa in silence for a long time. He felt like he hadn't protected you. Then he said, 'Grace is already hurting enough. I can't make it worse. I have to smile at her like before, so she doesn't think of unhappy things when she looks at me.' He just kept saying he felt sorry toward your mom, that he hadn't taken good enough care of you and had let you suffer." By the time she finished, I was sobbing, my chest hitching. What hurt was realizing that my dad had been loving me quietly all along. Aunt Nancy pulled me into her arms and patted my back over and over to comfort me. "Good girl, it's okay. Let it all out." While we were fishing, my dad deliberately kept looking for things to talk about. I knew he was afraid that if the atmosphere got too quiet, I would start overthinking. Not wanting to make them sad, I played along and chatted with him the whole day. On the way back, a friend sent me 2 screenshots from Moments. One was Oliver's post from that morning, downstairs from my building. The caption read, "In this life, I'll only ever love one person." The other was Rachel's, taken at Oliver's place. There was a fleeting glimpse of his bandage, and even if that side profile were reduced to ashes, I would still recognize it. Her caption, posted in the early hours of the morning, said, "Is it okay if I don't miss out this time?" My friend asked, "It's not just me, right? There's something going on with you three, isn't there?" I replied, "Yeah. We broke up. My ex-boyfriend and ex-best friend hooked up." She sent a sticker, then wrote, "This is insane. Didn't he just propose yesterday? How can someone be this disgusting?" I typed back, "It's all over now." She flooded me with hug emojis. "Grace, sweetheart, your blessings are all waiting for you up ahead." She was right. You have to let go of the wrong person before you can meet the right one. What doesn't kill me will only make me stronger. I posted a new update to my feed, officially single again. Right under my post were my other friends' updates from yesterday about the proposal. 9 photo grids. Short videos. 1 day's worth of PDA has fed me more couple dog food than I've had in my entire life. Grace, you'd better be happy. I'm so moved, sob sob. 5 years of love, congrats to Mr. Smith on his successful proposal. If anyone ever says they don't believe in love again, I'm going to slap this video right in their face. Looking back now, it all felt painfully ironic. I randomly tapped one of the posts open and saw Oliver in the picture. His eyes weren't on me. They were fixed, deeply and intently, on Rachel standing at my side. I thought of how he had calmly watched me chatting with Rachel last night. What kind of mood had he been in, weaving back and forth between the two of us like that? In that moment, had he been thinking about spending the rest of his life with me, or had he been savoring the fact that his revenge on her had finally succeeded? Now, none of that mattered anymore. The two of them, I didn't want either of them. Right after I posted my update, messages flooded in from my friends. After all, last night he had gone all out to plan that extravagant proposal. So many people had witnessed our so-called love. They all thought I was joking. But this was the truth. I replied to each of them, giving neither of them the slightest bit of face. Why on earth should I be the generous one? They were the ones who wronged me. I wasn't the one at fault. That night, Rachel still sent me a message. "Grace, can't you just let us be together?" I couldn't understand. She already had everything. Why did she have to go after Oliver too? Could she really not stand to see me happy? But she was supposed to be my best friend. In the end, I suddenly realized a truth I hadn't wanted to admit. Maybe Rachel had never truly seen me as a friend at all. Otherwise, how could she do something this shameless, with not a shred of conscience? I pressed down the urge to curse her out and replied, "Let you be together? Rachel, do you two not feel filthy and disgusting at all?" She replied quickly. "But Oliver liked me first. He was the one who confessed to me. I never told you this, but when you two had just gotten together, he told me that if I wanted, he could break up with you and be with me right away. I didn't tell you then because you were already together. I didn't want to hurt you." "Oh, so I'm supposed to thank you, then?" Rachel kept typing. "He's only with you to get back at me. If he breaks up with you, he won't have any reason to see me anymore." Disgusting. Utterly disgusting. The two of them were barely human. Every extra second I have to look at the two of you makes me want to throw up. I will not let you be together. I want you both to live under the weight of what you did to me, dragged down by everyone's condemnation, never able to show your faces in the light again. Then I blocked her. All for a man. I never imagined someone could throw away a friendship and even their conscience like that. I finally understood and woke up. In Rachel's eyes, I had probably never been a friend. I was just the plain little sidekick that made her beauty and popularity shine brighter. Just a walking trash bin who could take whatever she didn't want anymore. All these years, while I'd been offering them my whole heart, treating them with everything I had, they'd probably just thought, "Wow, Grace is so easy to fool." I really had been so stupid. I hadn't even noticed the undercurrents flowing between them. If they wanted to be together so badly, then I would make sure things didn't go the way they wanted. Word spread quickly among our shared circle of friends. I held my head high. Because I was the one who'd been hurt. Our mutual friends started cutting ties with them one by one. A few of them were so furious they just couldn't swallow it. After all, this kind of three-way train wreck was something they'd never seen in their entire lives. They posted the whole story anonymously on a certain Q&A platform. In less than a day, it had racked up over 10,000 likes. There were thousands of comments, and every single one of them was tearing into those too. I didn't know how Oliver had stumbled across it. One day after work, he ambushed me on my way home. His eyes were full of pain. "Grace, do you really hate me that much?" "Hate? You don't even deserve that." He tried to explain again. "There's really nothing between us. Why won't you believe me?" His voice was trembling. These past 5 years, have I treated you badly? Haven't you felt how good I've been to you? Yes, these 5 years, he really had treated me well. But love isn't a balance sheet where one good deed cancels out one bad one. The damage was done. It would scar over. And someday, out of nowhere, it would flare up again, reminding me how much it had hurt. It would turn into a blade we'd stab each other with every time we argued in the future. Oliver, when you lied to me, you knew I'd find out one day. Why didn't you think about the consequences? One lie needs countless other lies to cover it. He fell silent. So I answered for him. It's because, from the very beginning, you never thought there would be a future for us. I tore open the words he didn't dare face and laid them out in front of him, one by one. You thought I was just a pawn you could toss aside once you were done with me. You never expected that you'd actually fall for me somewhere along the way. I admit I was a jerk before. But Grace, I really never thought of leaving you. I truly wanted to marry you. I wanted a home with you. I cut him off. You're a jerk, a scumbag, and trash on top of that. Yes, call me whatever you want, hit me if you want, just don't leave me, okay? I'm not some love-drunk fool. No one stays with garbage. Save those lines for Rachel. There is no Rachel. He reached out to grab me again. My dad had just come back from buying groceries and caught him in the act. He went straight over and chased him off. For a while after that, Oliver waited for me downstairs at my office every day. He followed me when I went home. He knew I didn't want to talk to him, so he kept his distance. Always there, not too close, not too far, hovering. It was unbelievably annoying. I told my dad about it. He was so angry he went straight to the police. After we finished giving our statements, my dad walked over to Oliver, who was sitting there slumped and defeated. Stop coming after my daughter. Oliver slowly lifted his head and, over my dad's shoulder, looked at me. His eyes were red and swollen. I didn't say a single word to him. I just took my dad's arm and left. But that very night, Rachel used a new phone number to send me a picture. Grace, calling the cops? Are you insane? The photo showed Oliver in a dimly lit karaoke room. Their hands were resting on top of each other. How boring. All I felt was that it was pathetic. That Rachel had become such a detestable person. I didn't reply. I was just about to block her again when another message came through. Are you really this heartless? If you won't keep us company, we'll just keep each other warm. She was the crazy one. I blocked her again without hesitation. Later, a friend told me that Rachel had gone into Oliver's place that night and only came out the next day. Someone had heard them in a fierce argument. No one knew what it was about. All we knew was that Rachel posted a crying flower emoji to her feed with the caption, "Even if the road ahead is full of thorns, I still choose to embrace you again." She'd really mastered the art of cringe teenage melodrama. But I didn't care at all anymore. A friend asked me if I wanted to get back at them a little more, seeing as they were so infuriating. I was quiet for a long moment, then shook my head. If I kept tangling with them, I'd only sink deeper into that swamp. There would just be more and more ties between us. I didn't want to turn into that hysterical version of myself again. It wasn't worth it. Sometimes, not responding at all is the cruelest answer. After a stretch of calm days, packages started arriving at the house one after another. Some of them were baby things. I gave my dad a wary look. He hurried to defend himself. Why are you looking at me? Your aunt is way past that age. I pulled a baby bottle out of a box. Yesterday it was clothes, today it's a bottle. What else have we gotten? My dad sorted through the parcels and did a quick tally. There's also a rocker, some baby toys. No idea what today's is, but the box is huge. Then Aunt Nancy, standing off to the side, frowned and said, "Could it be that boy again?" The whole room fell silent in an instant. After that time my dad called the police, Oliver stopped showing up in front of me. But every week he sent flowers to my office. Sometimes food. I handed the food out to my colleagues. The flowers went straight into the trash. I just didn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. Half a year slipped by like that. I hadn't expected him to still be so stubborn, sending all kinds of strange things to our house. I picked up the scissors and cut open the box. Inside was a fully assembled Lego set. There was also a handwritten letter from him. Grace, I was wrong. I'm sorry. These days I haven't been doing well, not well at all. Every time I close my eyes, all I see is you. You were in my arms back then, saying, "Oliver, let's have 2 kids in the future, okay?" I said it was up to you, but that I didn't want you to go through the pain of pregnancy. You said pain was just another experience in life, that you wanted to go through different stages and experiences to prove that you'd truly been in this world, that you'd left a mark. You said if we could grow old together, we'd have so many memories when we're old, and even if we ran out of things to say, we could still recall one small story after another from when we were young and bring all those feelings back. How did I manage to lose you? Without you, there's no one to go through those moments with me anymore. What meaning is there in living then? Grace, I lied to you and that was my fault, but please don't ignore me. Those 5 years were so happy for us, weren't you happy too? I promised to give you a home, I'll make good on all of it, okay? You always said you loved children, so I bought everything for a baby for you. Let's forget the past and start over, okay? My dad saw me staring off into space and patted my shoulder. I'll respect whatever you decide. I folded up the letter, then tore it to pieces. Dad, you know what I'm like. I've been stubborn since I was a kid. Once I decide something, I don't change my mind. So once I've broken up with someone, I don't go back. Sometimes, when I was chatting with friends, they'd mention what the two of them had been up to. Rachel chased after Oliver every day and eventually got fired for her poor performance at work. Oliver kept working at his own family's company, so he wasn't affected much. But his energy, his spark, was clearly gone. They weren't together. After my friend told me all this, they asked, "Will you forgive him?" I shook my head. My heart wasn't strong enough to forgive the hurt they'd done to me. In the past, I'd been selfishly brainwashing myself into believing that my dad had abandoned me, that by sharing his life with someone else I was no longer his first priority. But when I thought about the fact that I had someone I loved and a best friend, life had felt enough. Now, half a year later, I'd grown to love bickering with my dad and going grocery shopping and cooking with Aunt Nancy. Ordinary, but real. Once, I'd loved Oliver so deeply it hurt. Once, in my dictionary, sisters came before anything else. Now, when I happened to think of them, it felt like a story from another lifetime. Sometimes I wondered, if I hadn't gone to confess to Oliver back then, or if I hadn't agreed when he confessed to me, would things be different now? But there are no ifs in life. Maybe this is just how life is. Right before the new year, Rachel came to see me. I refused to meet her. But she wouldn't give up and kept asking our mutual friends to talk me into it. In the end, I agreed. We met at the cafe we used to love the most. It had been so long that it actually felt a little awkward. When she saw me walk in, she blurted out nervously, "Grace, I'm sorry." I didn't say anything. I just looked at her coldly. What was the point of "I'm sorry" now? I was never going to smile and tell her it's okay like I used to. I'm sorry. I was stupid. I fell for someone I should never have fallen for. I still didn't reply. If she'd really seen me as a friend, she should have forced herself to bury those feelings for Oliver, never letting them see the light of day in front of me. But faced with a choice between the two of us, she had discarded me and chosen Oliver. Did it never occur to her that if I stepped aside, I would be the one forever out of reach? I would become the white moonlight he could never have. Would they really have been able to hurt me and keep doing shameful things while feeling perfectly at ease? She hadn't thought about any of that. As she spoke, her eyes turned red. So I'm the sinner, right? Now you're the one who's free. Only Oliver and I are left to live with our betrayal forever. I finally couldn't hold it back and frowned. Weren't you always so confident? You said that as long as you wanted it, he'd be with you. So, did you get what you wanted? She lowered her head and sobbed. I was out of my mind. It's all my fault. Are you really never going to forgive me? Yes. During this time, I had occasionally thought back to the happy times we'd had together. I told her she had to be my maid of honor someday, and she had agreed. I could never understand why, when she'd had so many boyfriends, she had to fall for Oliver again. Was it just that what you can't have always seems more tempting? Maybe it was my fault for being too slow on the uptake. I'd thought having both a best friend and a boyfriend was the happiest thing in the world. But when one person had once been rejected and the other had once been in love, there was no way for their feelings to stay pure. They could never just peacefully be friends. She had ruined my proposal. No, one hand can't clap on its own. The two of them had ruined my happiness. But if forgiving and being grateful don't have to contradict each other, then I was still grateful that they had woken me up in time and let me see the road ahead clearly. As we were about to part, she called out to me. My family introduced me to someone suitable. I'm getting married soon. Could you go see Oliver? He hasn't been doing well these past 6 months. I picked up my bag and refused. No. I don't drag things out with an ex. With tears in her eyes, Rachel apologized again. I know you don't believe me, but Grace, I really do hope you'll be happy. No need. I just hope I never see either of you again for the rest of my life. Oliver came back into my life again. On the morning of Little New Year's Eve, he was already waiting downstairs in my complex. In previous years, around this time, I would always take him home to have a meal and a few drinks with my dad. Maybe he was too obvious standing there, or maybe my dad just didn't want bad luck hanging around right before the new year, but he let Oliver stay for dinner. Oliver stood in the doorway, his expression a mix of caution and barely concealed excitement. After a few rounds of drinks, my dad looked at him. Oliver, are you still going to see my daughter all the time? Oliver froze, set his chopsticks down, and sat up straight. Not all the time, Uncle. He meant that he just happened to send things and remind us he existed every now and then. My dad put his cup down and said sternly, "You're already broken up. This isn't appropriate. Don't bring bad influence into Grace's life. She's going to get married someday." The words were casual, but they hit hard. Oliver's eyes reddened, his voice shaking. "Uncle, sometimes I just miss her too much." My dad got angry in an instant. He slapped the table. "So you miss her and just show up? What did you say the first time you came to our house? You promised you'd treat her well for a lifetime, that you'd never do anything to hurt her. And then? You went and got involved with her best friend." Oliver forced out an explanation. "We never got together." My dad ignored him and stood up. "Then why did you hurt her? Why did you treat her like that? I've raised Grace since she was little. Even I can't bear to scold her, and you? You did something that awful. Why should she forgive you? You tell me." With that, he slammed his glass down. It shattered across the floor. "After today, don't come back. Don't come and upset me, or my daughter." Oliver also stood, choking on whatever he'd wanted to say. My dad waved him off. "Just go. This is the last time I'll ever see you." Oliver looked at me. I kept my head down and said nothing. Aunt Nancy went to open the door, clearly ready to chase him out. Oliver finally wiped his eyes, looked back at us, and said, "Uncle, please don't be angry. I'll go now. Happy New Year." After he left, my dad hugged me. "My precious girl, in the new year, we're going to leave the past behind for good." My eyes stung as I nodded. After the new year, I learned how to drive again. Whenever I had free time, I'd take my dad and Aunt Nancy on little trips to places nearby. My dad picked up the classic luxury hobby of old age and bought himself a long-lens camera. He fiddled with it every day. I thought he wanted to take pictures of flowers and trees. But every time we came home from a trip, the photos he posted to his moments were all of me. My little girl, standing tall and graceful. Ugh. So cheesy. Today my girl told me to go running and lose some weight. "Everyone, tell me, do I look fat?" "You're not fat. I just wanted you to keep me company. A family picnic. My girl's cooking is getting better and better." "Oh please, the fruit platter was the only thing I put together. My girl says my photography skills are terrible. I think these shots of her are pretty good. They'd be even better if you didn't make me look like I'm only 1.2 meters tall." Aunt Nancy would sometimes tell me that ever since I moved back home, my dad had been happier every single day. One day, without thinking, I asked him why he'd agreed to let me live with Oliver back then. My dad just squeezed my hand. "More than having you by my side, I care more about you being happy." I hugged him, my eyes going red. "As long as I have you too, I'm happy. Home would always be my warm harbor." A year later, a friend told me Rachel had rushed into a marriage and then divorced just as quickly. Rachel had asked that friend to tell me she was sorry. I didn't respond. Oliver also asked a friend to say that he would wait for me forever. I still didn't respond. My friend sent me his social media profile and snorted with laughter. Now that the child's gone, he shows up with milk, only when the person's gone does he realize he regrets it. What a joke. I tapped into his page and took a look. On the night of the proposal, he'd posted a photo at 3 in the morning. "My biggest wish in this life is to walk forward with you." On the day I refused to see him, he'd written, "I'm the stupidest person in the world." When I posted my single again, he put up a screenshot, "I'll spend my whole life waiting for your forgiveness." On the day he blocked my way, he wrote, "I'm trash. I don't deserve you." On the day my dad called the police, he posted, "If getting drunk could make me forget, I'd rather stay sober forever." Next to the Lego set he'd built, "You always said this was so stress-relieving. So why is it that the longer I spend building it, the more I miss you?" I admit I did feel like crying a little, but not for him. For the years of myself I'd given with all my heart. I admit that in those 5 years, Oliver truly did love me. But I also admit that his heart had never only held me. Over time, I had simply become the most important one. And after that? Even if there had been no Rachel Jordan, there might have been a Rachel Jones, a Rachel Harris. Once trust collapses, everything falls apart. No matter how many storms you weather afterward, some things can never be undone. In this tangle of love and betrayal, even on the nights I woke with my pillow wet from tears, I still held my head high. Because I was still young. Because I had woken up in time. Because I would meet other people. Because I would keep moving forward. Only now, on that road ahead, there would never again be Oliver or Rachel.